I'll do a little bit of an introduction here just to say, why the heck are you here listening to Brad Korn talk about find hidden listings? I will tell you the first thing is I've been in the real estate business for a little over 30 years, about 32 to be exact. I have sold over 2,500 homes during my career, and stop there for a minute because I'm going to break this down as to why that number is important and what that says about me in my real estate business, because it was not done with a team of 50 people. Okay. For over 20 years, I sold 100 properties a year. I will say that my team has been as big as 9 people. You got invited here because of your movement mortgage loan officer. I know them well, and I'm working with them and helping connect the real estate agent and the mortgage professional, because it is the most powerful team you could probably have in real estate. I want you to know that as a real estate agent, you want your video on and you want to plug in, because where do we make a lot of money with each other?
Referrals.
Oh, that was smart that you actually chimed in, because now we know you're paying attention and you're going to get some referrals probably. So here's the thing. After today, I will tell you, as a real estate agent, any trainings that I go to, I'm also networking along with the people in the screens. I'm like just making a note of the names and um, what markets we are in, depending on how many people are here. And at the end, what I'm about to share with you is going to help you grow your business. And if we want to share what markets we're in, put it in the chat, your name, your contact information, and what market you work. That's how we're going to do that. Because there's going to be a lot of referral business. And the fact that you're tuning into this, the stuff that I'm going to share with you, I will say that it's not about finding the hidden listings. They're there. It's just that sometimes we get so deep in our own forest that we don't think about the places we can go find new business. And so I've been doing this for 32 years, sell 100 homes a year for over 20 something years. My team was as big as 9 people, and it's been as big as 1 person. So in 2019 and 2020, during COVID, you're looking at the entire Korn team in Kansas City selling 70 homes a year with a great system and a database that had been built over 20 something years, the relationships that were built in there. So I'm a big time database relationship guy. And if you stay in tune with the loan professional that invited you here today, there's going to be a lot more of this kind of level of training coming. I don't have anything to sell you. I am here strictly as a business partner to help you grow your business because your movement mortgage loan officer invited you. Okay. So there's nothing to sell here. This is something that they have earned to give to you. What's going on in your market? What is your biggest struggle? And or what are you hoping to take away from this that might fill part of that struggle? Does anybody want to share?
Brad,
Yeah.
always good seeing you, brother.
You
Haven't
too,
seen you
man.
in a couple years.
Yes.
Um, and whenever you're on, I get on. I don't even like Sissy and Dom, but when I heard you were going to be on there, I thought that would be a good idea.
I'm glad you
So,
turned your camera on. I was like, yeah, awesome. Minnie's here.
yeah. So basically, we've gotten back to a normal market in really the Houston area. And I've always said that the Houston area is the best bang for the buck anyway, because I've heard from agents from all over the country. And what we've had is we're having to reduce prices that were listed before. It's really kind of cool. I've been doing it 18 years, and it's back to what I consider a normal market. I mean, you don't have to throw a dart and everybody comes. Although there's still those people that don't buy the house that they come to see or they're interested in. They got to go buy another house. So capturing those, we're fortunate we have a buyer's agent that does all that. And then we pretty much exclusively use Dom and Sissy for
Awesome.
all of it. They do my personal stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good deal. So basically, when I saw over here, about find the properties that nobody else is finding, that raised a big flag for me.
Yeah. Well, and this is actually a lot of what I did in my earlier days in real estate when I got in. And um, we're in a market now where we need to do more than what we did last year or the year before because it was a pretty fun ride for a little bit. Now it's kind of a weird and people aren't listing as much. And we think they're not moving because of the interest rates. We think that they're not doing this or that. And honestly, talking to top agents and I mean, we show up around those same groups all the time, Vinny, and everybody's actually doing really well. And the difference that I put it, my perspective is where I used to carry 40, 50 active listings. And I mean, I was in the office 8 hours a day managing the listings, grabbing the buyers that were coming off the listings, all this stuff. We were working hard. Today, it seems like we're just listing and selling and we get a buyer and sell. So we're moving everything so fast that if you don't have systems in place to keep that coming in, it will seem slower, but you're also going to seem slower because we're not holding on to anything. We're not having to do all this extra work. So our profitability is through the roof. Would you agree? Like that's kind of where we are?
Absolutely. You know, it's the inventory hasn't changed. Where we are in Texas, I mean, there's a neighborhood going up every 5 miles, and so there's plenty of inventory, except there's not enough inventory, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, yeah, we're way behind and it's going to take a while to catch up. So that's the best news I have for you as a real estate agent. But let me say, what I realized in this market is that whenever my inventory, like it was average for me to carry 40 listings back in the day, right?
Yeah.
And if my inventory level got down to 20, that's when I knew I was about out of business because those 20 were going to sell. And so I either like dropped the ball on something, I wasn't following through on my system, I wasn't keeping in touch, I wasn't feeding the database, I wasn't doing something, or the market shifted and wiped out half of our inventory pretty quick. Either way, I remember thinking I've got to keep around 40 because that pays the bills and pays the team. And so I would just push the pedal to the metal and I would do more. And this year we hit that again. And what I started doing was looking at the things I used to do that were pretty smart, like working smart. And we're going to talk about that, but it's finding these hidden listings. So I actually am going to switch this over to the screen. I'm not going to stop anybody else from sharing. So still share if you want to. But let me get this.
Thank God Sissy got on here because I don't really like looking at Doms.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta always have a
I
system.
love you, Vinny.
All right, so cool. Can you guys see my screen too?
Yes.
So a lot of this stuff I'm talking about when I say it's not really hidden listings, they were just things when I worked smarter to get listings faster because I had to get my inventory back up to 40. That's what's created what I'm sharing with you guys today. So this is find the hidden listings where there are none, only they really aren't that hidden. A couple other things I'll just tell you about why I'm the one that's even leading this. I'm not so much the guy that needs to be on stage and be in front of people. Look at me, how successful I am. Guys, I'm a guy in Kansas City where we've probably got one of the lowest price points around. You can still buy, by the way, this might be a plug for a referral or an investor. You can still buy a $70,000 house here that I was telling Dom earlier. You can buy a $70,000 house in Independence, Missouri, home of Harry S. Truman, one of the presidents of the United States, right? For $70,000, and it's livable. It has a fenced yard, a garage, and it has 3 bedrooms and 2 baths, and it has a basement. So that's Kansas City. But with that being said, the reason why I'm sharing this information with you is because when I got into real estate, it was just like this market right now, only they hadn't taught me anything I needed to know about selling a lot of real estate. I got my license for $400 and then I was 2,500 in the hole by the time I could even talk about real estate. And you're set up and you're doomed to fail in this business sometimes. So it's getting over that hump made me so mad because I had basically moved my raising 3 girls and my livelihood into a commission only business and nobody taught me what I needed to know. So I started hanging around guys like Vinny and all these successful agents and learning from them. But the difference is I applied the things. So when I talk about this stuff today, it may seem kind of like, well, okay, that was kind of obvious. I should have known that. but how many of you will actually do what we're going to talk about today and go find some listings? That's where I'm going to put the challenge. So that's why I'm here sharing it today. What that led to, and that 100 sales a year for 20 something years, what it led to was in 2015, my business partner and my wife, we had worked together for 20 years and built our team as big as 9 people. And it was down to one, down to two of us at one point in 2014, that she was going to pick up one of our clients for a closing that didn't have any family around. And she was on the Kansas side of Kansas City. And my wife was going to pick her up. She's an elderly woman, bring her back to the Missouri side to sign her closing documents because she didn't have anybody else here. She got in a car accident on the way to pick her up. That car accident was a head-on collision. She survived the accident, but after 14 weeks of recovery of having the dash smash her hip socket and all that stuff, and she couldn't be on her, she had to be on crutches for 12 weeks. 14 weeks after the accident, she just didn't wake up one day, and we never got her back. She was in a coma for 5 months. So here we are running a team, a business. Our team had just turned over. We had an assistant and a showing agent that just joined our team right before her accident. And she had been with us like 5, 6, 7 years prior. So I had 2 people on my team plus us 2. She's in a coma for the next 5 months. And I had to take her 3 hours away from Kansas City to the best brain injury hospital I could find to see if we could get her out of it, even though it was an anoxic brain injury. So she just basically, they lost her on the way to the hospital when she wouldn't respond and wake up one day. It was like a Tuesday morning, I think. She didn't wake up. She was snoring and breathing, called 911. They got her stabilized, but they lost her on the way for about 4 minutes, and ER lost her for about 4 minutes. That lack of oxygen for 8 minutes put her into a real true vegetative state. So I know there's a lot of people that have brain injuries that can come out of a coma. We weren't, they kept telling me she wasn't going to come back. Well, I just said, you're going to be the first ones to bring somebody back out of one of these. When your brain's dead, it's dead. You don't get it back. So after 5 months, we had to let her go. And what happened during that year that I was out of my business for 5 months, we sold 97 homes with 2 people on my team based on the systems that I had put in place over the previous 20 years. So these things, these systems, that's why I'm sharing all this, because I've written a book with Michael Gerber. If you've been around for a long time and you remember the book E-Myth for Entrepreneur Myths, Why Small Businesses Don't Work, I wrote E-Myth Real Estate Agent with Michael because I basically systematized my business like his book said to do it, straight textbook E-Myth. And I called him to thank him for giving me 5 months with my wife in a coma and giving me the opportunity to try and get her back, first of all. And then secondly, he called me back and said, let's write the book. So, and there's other stuff on here too. If you're familiar with NAR, 2005, they ran a marketing contest. Who's going to make it big? And at the NAR conference, in front of 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 agents, I won a 5-carat diamond. I won the marketing contest for realtor.com and homes.com for how to market a property. And it was really pretty simple thing. I mean, I just use all the fields. I upload all the pictures, and I know everybody kind of realtor.com is a 4-letter word in our industry, but they made me a lot of money and helped me sell real estate. And I got a 5-carat diamond from them. So I like them. That was a $40,000 win. Anyway, so those are the kind of the reasons that I'm in here. I've been featured in a lot of real estate publications and things, just successful marriages in real estate. And I'll tell you what, there wasn't anything magical about my marriage in real estate. We had everything systematized, and it created a successful real estate business, which allowed us to live our life. So a couple things real quick. Become a ninja. Go where the others won't go. And some of the things I'm about to share with you. But guys, what I'm about to share you're not going to have any competition in the things I'm about to share. And these are things that I really did. And it's things that I've had to start doing again, right? Put a little sweat equity into finding contact information. I mean, if you guys talk to your Movement Mortgage person that got you here today, there's probably just a handful that I'm working with at this level that I'm saying, hey, I would like to do a realtor training with your realtors and help you guys all get your businesses cranked up in this market. So I do help some other LOs. I do some professional coaching a few days a week because I've got my real estate business so systematized, and Movement's like, come coach with us. You've done this before. I've coached for my brokerage at high levels, coaching 80 clients at a time. So that's another reason why I'm sharing this with you, because I am coaching some of the top LOs at Movement Mortgage right now. And this is one of the little perks that I'm doing for you guys to all grow your businesses. But put a little sweat equity into finding contact information. They're going to talk to you a lot. You guys will probably have a lot more conversations you ever thought about your database and your list of people and your relationships, more so than getting another loan, because everybody, your database sucks. And if you haven't talked to every single person in your database in the last month, 2 months, 3 months, you are missing some major business. So you'll figure that out in a future class that we're going to do. And I'll share the power of that. That's where my 100 sales a year come from. And when I say 100 sales a year, my phone rings with listings. I don't go do the cold calling lead generation stuff anymore. I don't spend money buying leads from all these lead generation things. I don't have to. The database spits out those 100 sales a year just by staying in touch with 10,000 people on a systematized basis. You'll hear more about that from them, and we'll have a class on that as well. But so this is going to be thinking outside the box, because we get trapped in our little boxes sometimes. And so are you guys, how many people are really feel like you might be trapped in a social media box? Not that you bought into it, but it's like everybody keeps talking about how we should be doing more social media, should be doing videos, should be doing this, should be doing that. And video. I mean, you got to think outside the box sometimes, because as long as I've been around, any program that comes my way, no matter how awesome it sounds, 40 listings in 1 month from Facebook, whatever that is, if that was true, I know 200 of the top agents in the country that would all be doing it. And when I ask if any of them, what the names are, none of their names show up on anything. So these poster child of all these great programs that are out there, I actually Google the person and just go, okay, I mean, they're a good agent. They sell 20 homes a year. They sell 30 homes a year. But if they even sold 40 homes a year, they didn't sell them all from Facebook. That's just not happening. So I just don't see, there's no golden ticket. This is just long-term. Schedule time to work on your business. This will actually, when I get done today, will require you to put some time on your schedule, maybe an hour every 2 days or 3 days, just to work on the things I'm about to share with you, because it is an out of the box thinking, but you are literally going to have no competition. There's never enough training. I could probably just teach this class for the rest of the year. And if you came to every single one of them, you will get something different every time you come. Real quick, you've probably seen this before. Focus on your 20%. It's the Pareto principle. 20% of what you do generates 80% of the results, and 80% of what you do generates 20% of your results. Guys, if you would like to double your income, so you might be comfortable, you might be good, you might be struggling, right? And you might be having your best year ever. There's a small percentage that are having their best year ever right now because they're just doing more and being on purpose. There's a lot of people that are comfortable, and there's a lot of people that are not comfortable, that their businesses have dropped. Especially for like, I'm probably talking to the bigger teams and the people who have been around longer that have a lot of overhead. Man, they are sieving money right now, because if you drop 20, if you even drop 10% and you have 50 agents on your team in multiple locations, your expenses didn't change with the drop in the business. And most of the agents on that group or in that business model are probably doing average business. So I talk about all the time, like half of the roster of an office is doing zero. And then the next half of the top half is doing maybe 1 to 4 or 5 deals a year. I mean, they're lucky if they're doing 1 or 2 deals a month. That's in the top 25%. So what I'm saying is, if you would like to double your income, no matter what level you're at, when you figure out what the 20% is that generates 80% of the income, which is what's the fastest way to the cash, 20% is something that's bringing new money into the bottom line, not keeping the money that you already got. Bringing new money into the bottom line is listing a $750,000 house where it should be priced and it's going to sell in the next week or two. That's 20% stuff. So how do you go find that $750,000 house? Now, making sure the contract is compliant so you can get paid the commission dollars is not 20% stuff. You already earned the money by getting the listing and getting it sold. This is the 80% stuff that generates 20% of your income, but we spend 80% of our day doing it. So I'm going to just rephrase this one way and we'll move on. If you want to double your income, that means 20% of what you did yesterday, everyone I'm looking at on this screen right now, 20% of what you did yesterday generated 80% of your income. Literally, if you want to double your income for the rest of this year, just do the 20%, 40% of the day. I'm going to show you the 40% or the 20%. Just add this piece that you get today, add 2 or 3 things that we talk about today, and you can double your 20% to 40% and double your income. Everybody kind of excited yet? Have I lost anybody yet? I haven't even gotten anything yet. All right, so we know there's a ton of ways to find leads. I mean, there's 100 ways to get 100 sales. And what most people need to do, and what you want to do here when you're finding hidden listings, is go through this just standard list. Just Google this, ways to find leads in real estate. You're going to find a list very similar to this. And go through that list and narrow it down to what really you care or like to do, right? And I know all of us loved for business to come out of our database. So the database could be one, and we will have a class next month on the power of the database. It's a gold mine. But once you look at these different things, like what are your top 2 or 3 things that you can do or would like to do that if you were going to do more and you were going to add a new thing in to get back up to an inventory level, right? I mean, we were just talking about how you used to carry 40 listings. Now it's like you just carry 2 or 3, but you list them and sell them as fast as you're doing it. Well, that's what I did before is I listed 40 and then I listed and sold them as fast as I got them to keep it at 40. So now I'm just doing it at 3. So if I want to get to 6, I literally have to do more than what I'm doing right now to be at 3. I could go to 6. I can go to 12. I can go to 40. It's just I'm gonna have to do more, right? So adding that next piece in, that's gonna add more. So I'll give you a couple examples. So door knocking's on here. If I were going to door knock, and actually after I share this, I want you to know that you might consider door knocking again. And I know who I'm saying this to, okay? I know who I'm saying this to you, but think about this. If I were somebody that does like to door knock, or if you ever door knocked in your life, and if you were an old-time real estate agent, you probably did. Did anybody do door knocking? Just raise your hand if you did any door knocking at all ever. I mean, I literally did. Yep. We got Robert in there. Yep. Some of us haven't turned our camera on yet. If I were going to target a neighborhood and I'm going to pick my sphere, my farm that I want to target, here's a different way to look at it. If Brad Korn is going to target a neighborhood and go knock on the doors, I'm actually going to blow up a map of that subdivision. This is actually a subdivision I lived in. So I had this map blown up and I was working through my neighborhood to take over the business in my neighborhood. It's almost like you start at the entrance. I hope you guys can you guys see the graphics okay? Are they kind of small? Okay. So there's an opening to the neighborhood. And it's like you just draw a map through the neighborhood and an arrow that goes past every door in the neighborhood, like a little maze that you would do at the doctor's office, right? And bring yourself back out at the entrance. This is if I'm going to be on purpose and I'm going to door knock, I want to be on purpose and get the most business possible out of this. So what I'm going to do is every day, and this is a great thing. I mean, I would spend maybe an hour a day. That was it. My goal was to get in front of five people in that neighborhood a day, and then I'm done. I'm done doing my door knocking duty, if you want to call it that. So I start at the main entrance, and I go to the very first house, and I knock on the door. And as you'll see here, there's an X on that first house. They answered the door. So I introduced myself. Hey, Brad Korn, live in the neighborhood. Just want to introduce myself. Yeah, I'm a real estate agent. I'm actually not here. And I already knew people aren't moving or there'd be more signs in the yard. So really, I'm just making a connection to get them in the database to milk on them till they do move, right? And if it's a $500,000 or if it's a 500 home neighborhood, Think about it this way. If there's 500 homes in a neighborhood, would that be a typical size of most neighborhoods for you guys? Anybody want to say it's closer to 100 or closer to 1,000? 100, raise your hand. 500 good, raise your hand. Yep. Okay, cool. So if there's 500 homes in a neighborhood, and what we know from NAR is that they move every 5 to 10 years, right? And right now, what we're probably experiencing is closer to the 10-year mark because we're not getting enough inventory. People aren't moving. The interest rates went up. They're slowing down. So if it was 5 or 7, now it's turning into 10 and people are staying just a little bit longer during this period. So for easy math, we're just going to stick with 10. So out of a 500 home neighborhood, 50 people are moving in the next 12 months. 50 people out of the 500 should move in the next 12 months. So you narrow that down, and that's 4 of those people are moving a month. Wow, that's about right. You see about 4 signs in a neighborhood at any given time, right? So if I wanted to get all the listings in that neighborhood, because I know when I hang around top producers and people that market and farm and do all that stuff, they say if you get around 10 to 20% market share in a neighborhood, you're doing pretty good. See, my brain is like 10 to 20% market share. I mean, I want 100% market share. Anybody else want 100% market share of a neighborhood, right? So the cost to maintain that 20% market share is horrendous, and you have to do it over a long period of time. I can take over 100% market share, or let's just say you don't always get 100%. So 80 to 90% market share in 5 months with a 500 home neighborhood. How I would do that is I'd knock on doors. That day I'm going to door knock every single day, 5 days a week. This is my one of my core things. So I'm going to knock on doors, and when 5 people answer, when the 5th person answers their door, and I'm just, Brad, I know you're not probably moving. I just want to introduce myself. I sell real estate in the neighborhood. I live here. So I'm just meeting homeowners, and I'd love to just keep in touch with you and keep you up on what the market's doing. They're going to be like, oh, great. And then I might even say something like, hey, because I will be selling, or because I am selling a lot of homes in this neighborhood, I like to know what people love about the neighborhood as well, not just me, but what do you love about living here? And I get them, it breaks the ice and gets them just to talk to me about stuff, a little bit. And if they're short, they're short. I get it. But anyway, they're going to get a note. They're going to go in my database, and I'm going to stay in touch with them from that point forward. By the time I knock on 5 doors, I put an X on those houses. So tomorrow I'm going to go door knock, and I'm going to start at the entrance again. I'm going to pull in, park my car, and I'm going to only hit the houses that don't have X's now. And I'm going to do that until 5 people answer their door. And after those 5 people answer their door, I'll knock a few more houses out, right? And then I'll go back tomorrow and do it again and again. And I'm just going until I've met every single homeowner in the neighborhood. So you're going to meet 80 to 90% of them over a period of time. Now, let's do the math for a second. If it's 500 home neighborhood and I do 5 a day, how many years do you think it will take me to get through and meet everybody? 5 months. 5 a day, 5 days a week is 100 a month. I can knock out an entire stinking neighborhood in 5 months. Are you kidding me? So if you're going to do this and you want to take over market share, remember those 20 that are out of the 500, the 50 that are moving, it's only 4 a month. But for me to get 4 listings in that neighborhood next month, I actually have to get with all 500. Because out of those 500, the 50 that are moving this year and the 4 that are moving this month don't know they're one of the 4 that are moving this month or next month until next month. And the 4 the month after that don't know they're one of the 4 until the following month. So I actually have to be in touch consistently with all 500 every month for the next 10 years. And if I do that well, I will have 500 listings out of 500 homes. That makes sense? So you're going to have more than that because some people move every 5 to 3 years. Okay. So any questions on, actually not even questions. How many of you just thought of door knocking a little differently than you've ever thought of before? I mean, if that doesn't get you excited, that's okay. We got something easier than that. It's still door knocking. Using the internet. Guys, this is like that one thing. Everybody's like with the internet and this post and video and what's my message and what's all this stuff. Guys, just open up the Facebook every day, cautiously, don't get sucked into it, but every day just scroll through Facebook until you're done. It might be 5 minutes, it might be 10 minutes. I'll jump on Facebook literally when I'm waiting for the kids to get rounded up to leave. It's not rare that I'm ahead of them. I'm usually the one that they're waiting on. But if I am waiting on people, I open up Facebook and I start scrolling through and I look for people talking about moving. Where are they moving? We're moving. We're getting married. We're whatever. All of those things that they're posting and talking about, that's future business. And we're not even paying attention to it. That's an easy one, yet it's so simple. You're probably not even paying attention to it. Okay. The second thing I do when I leverage this is I still have a network group that we've been meeting for 19 years. We meet every week for an hour. We do the stand-up, 20-second infomercials. This core group has generated, $60,000 in commissions for me in 2 years. So it is a very powerful group because of the way we organize it, but they're on social media looking for people talking about it and sending me that link to that person. So a lot of times that person's maybe not on your friends list or anything, but they send me a post and go, hey, somebody's getting ready to move. And then what I do, again, this is detailed stuff. If I'm not friends with them, I will click on their profile because I can see them. And a lot of times you can click on their friends tab and their friends will pop up. And almost always there's some kind of mutual friend. We have at least 1 or 2 or 3 mutual friends. So then it gives me a reason to talk to 3 of our mutual friends that are my friends to give me a reason to call them and go, hey, do you know so-and-so? And again, because I stay in touch with my database, they're probably hearing from me every so often, a few times a year. But if I pull that up and we're a mutual friend, I'll click on it. And if I haven't talked to them in a while, hey, it's Korn, what's going on? And everybody would know me by that, right? And it's like, hey, what's going on? It's like, oh man, I was just screwing around on Facebook and you came up because you were friends with so-and-so and somebody told me they were thinking of moving. And I thought, man, I need to call and see how you're doing. Oh, I'm doing great. So do you know them well? And it's like, they're from church. And it's like, okay, well, just curious if you knew them well enough to maybe get me a foot in to talk to them and make sure they have a great experience. All right. I know I probably don't need to go into that much detail on it. You guys know how to convert a lead. That's why I don't teach script classes. Scripts are amazing and you need scripts in your business, but you don't really need the script when somebody says, yeah, I'm thinking about selling. Every script you learn's out the window. It's like, great, when can we meet? Yeah. So the scripts help you organize a lot of your business, but you don't need scripts to get business. You need people and relationships to get business, and you use the scripts to get them to make smarter decisions, right? Real world stuff, that showing that I was just dealing with, my seller's like literally cuckoo, off the chart, just totally can't handle the situation, but he has to move. And wants to fire me every day and reduce my commission. I have scripts, and there's a reason why he's paying more commission and he's adding to it, but I'm using the scripts to keep him. I could easily just say, dude, this is too much. I'm done. But he's a basket case and he does need to move because of his situation. So I can't just leave him. I can't let him go. I'm just going to have to deal with it. Use my scripts to calm him down, get him to price it right, get him to let the showings go through when they want to cancel them and they have to move. I know where I'm going. All right. Here's another one. This is, if you're looking for things to post, there's just all this video stuff going out there. And now the words are coming up and we're giving all these tips. And guys, I'm paying attention to it. It's cool. You should do it. Do something consistently, persistently to be in front of people. But you're not making the video to get a stranger to call you because they watched your video and they watched the words and they heard what you said. And it's like, oh my gosh, I got to call them. I'm buying a house now, or I should sell now. That you're talking on social media to everybody you're already in relationship is seeing your stuff everywhere, right? If you follow me on social media, or if you don't, you might after today. I just posted a thing about going on a roller coaster today. We have a thing called Worlds of Fun, which is like Six Flags or anything. It's our local one. And they brought back this 80s roller coaster that was the best roller coaster ever, the Zambezi Zinger. I posted that. I've got more people that are commenting on that are going to be clients selling and buying and selling real estate than posting a video on how you can upgrade your house and make more money. You know, you're not going to get a stranger to call you on it. It's for your people that already know you. So this is one that I posted to show. This was one particular house that I was doing a market analysis for. And I was looking at it, it's like, oh my God. So what you can't see down here is at the very bottom, the very first time this property sold to the second time it sold was a 10-year period. And that 10-year period, it went up $21,000 total equity in 10 years. The next time it sold was only 6 years, and it went up $28,000 in equity. And then the most recent time it just sold was in 2020, but in a 4-year period, that seller made $95,000 in equity. So this is the kind of stuff I post on social media, talking to the people that already know me, that know I know real estate, and they're the ones that are sitting on the fence because they're like, these interest rates, Brad, I just don't know. And it's like, if they're one of my renters, I will say, did you see that thing I said, why should you buy now? And they're like, yeah, I did. And it's like, I was talking to you, so I do my social media for them, not for any other reason. All right, let's see. We're doing great on time. Let me pause out here before I move into the next thing. Any questions so far about anything? Or maybe give me some feedback, some thumbs up if you're getting a couple of good ideas out of here. Am I getting you to think outside the box? Give me a sideways thumb if you're like, all right, you've told me everything I've already heard before, and I do all this stuff. This is a sideways thumb. All right. Yeah. And a downward thumb if, oh my God, this is so basic. Why wasn't I doing this before? And the thumbs down is for you, right? No, we're not beating each other up here. It's some of this stuff I don't know. How am I doing, guys? My movement mortgage buddies, am I doing all right? Okay, cool. Am I bringing good value for your people? Okay. So finding buyers and getting listings. I talked about finding the hidden listings. Guys, I mean, seriously, when I share this, promise me you'll go do this, because this is like a gold mine. And it's so out of the box. I've shared it with thousands and thousands and thousands of agents, and they're not doing it yet. This is so simple. Here's what we know. People move every 5 to 10 years, right? The other NAR statistics, if you pay attention to them, and they haven't changed a lot over the years, is that people move within a 5-mile radius of where they currently live. Have you guys heard this before? Okay, so it's a NAR stat that people will typically move within 5 miles of where they currently live. And just to break it down, I think the reason why is because do you have buyers who say, I want to keep my kids in a certain school? All right. So that's within a 5-mile radius. So they're trying to keep their kids and their family in a certain area. Now, not everybody does that. And actually, since COVID, we're seeing a lot of people moving to weird places, right? So I'm saying in general, most people move within 5 miles of where they currently live. They also move up in price 50% of where they currently live. Now, what I mean by that, and this is a NAR stat, so we know NAR spends a lot of money on these stats, so I pay attention to them. But if we know they live in a $300,000 house, they will most likely move up to about a 450, 50% above wherever their current value is. So if I have a buyer that's looking for a $450,000 house, I can search a 5-mile radius of where they really want to be, or the whole MLS area that they want to move to. And I could go back and look for homes that sold 5 to 10 years ago that sold for about $200,000 to $300,000. Because now with appreciation over 5 to 10 years, that $300,000 house is probably 400, 450, right? So just take this into account here and absorb this information for a second. If I go to sales that happened 5 to 10 years ago, what do we know about those people? What kind of conversation are they starting to have around the house? Moving, right? Moving. So these are off-market listings that are about to become listings because the average person moves every 5 to 10 years. And if it's in my buyer search criteria, Here's the fun part. I can literally put in the ideal, perfect house that my buyer would love. And you have those buyers that come to you. Well, Brad, we want 4 bedrooms. We want 3-car garage. We want a finished basement and a fenced yard. We'd like an elevator, right? Whatever it might be. But I could literally search 5 to 10 years ago, which is a long period of time. And I can pull up houses with that elevator. And I can then just go through the history and see if they have moved since then. If those people are still in the house, you will take a list of probably 150, 200, 300 homes that by the time you go through the history on these, you're going to end up with a good 10 or 20 people that haven't moved yet, that are still in the same house, that is now worth about 450, and they probably paid 200 to 300 for it. Do I need to explain that one? I mean, we're getting into some deep math right now. Are you guys okay on this? Do you get how simple this is? Or is there anybody that has a question about it? So what do you do with it, right? So once I get that, now this is where I said, put a little time into your business, work on your business. It's going to take a little bit of work to find a phone number for them. We have tax records. So you have their name and you have their address. And here's the one thing I know you'll think you want, but it's worthless. Email. You do not need this person's email. You are not going to get an opportunity to see this house through some email thing. And if you do have an email message that would get one of those people to say, yeah, come look at my house, I want to know what your message is, because I'll pay for it if you're getting that result with it. The reality is that now I have to figure out how to cross paths with these people that own this house and see if they've thought about buying or selling. And here's the best part. If they actually haven't thought about buying or selling yet, or when you do this and you start calling, first of all, you won't call 10 sellers and have 10 people say, no, we're not moving. You'll have 2 or 3 people say that because that's their natural response. They weren't moving. But as soon as you hang up the phone, they have been thinking about moving. And now I just sparked the conversation inside the house. So this is a way to build a listing inventory for yourself. Second thing it does is you're building an opportunity to show your buyers some houses that aren't on the market that they won't have to compete with. And they don't have to settle for the script that we've all been using for the last couple of years of, so you have 10 things you want in a house. You're going to have to settle for 5 of those, maybe 4. The house that has all 10 things you want doesn't exist. And if it does, it's going to go for $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 over asking price with 50 offers, right? So you've got to be happy with not 4 out of your 10 things right now. Let's get you in that house. And then in 3 years, we'll resell that one and get you the house that has 8 or 9 or 10 once the market adjusts. So take advantage of the market. The second script I use on that, and I'll give you, I said scripts, but these are the people that I'm getting to move through this process, is I say, right now, you will sell your house for the most it's going to sell for this neighborhood. You're going to get top dollar. You're not going to have to sell anything cheap. So you can cash out of this neighborhood and let's get you into the next neighborhood. Only we'll try to buy a house towards the lower end of that neighborhood so you can gain some equity there. Or in that equity position, it's like move you into a bigger neighborhood where that appreciation is bigger than it is where you are now. Your appreciation is tapped out here. We just need to move you to the next great investment that's really a place you could call home that you can get some more appreciation. So those are the kind of conversations I have. But for these people here, once I find a phone number for them, oh, by the way, if I don't find a phone number for them, what do you think I'm going to do? Probably go knock on the door. Why not? I mean, what else are we doing? I don't have 40 listings right now. I have 3. I have all the time in the world to go knock on a door, especially if it's this kind of door, right? So I'm going to go knock on the door if I can't find their number. But if I find their number, write this down. This is a great website, fastpeoplesearch.com. If you have not heard of this before, it's free. And there's a bunch of them you pay for, but fastpeoplesearch.com. If any of my friends on here can type that in the chat, that would be great. Fastpeoplesearch.com. And you can search by putting the name and the city that a person lives in, which we have from the tax records. and it will pull up their, if it pulls up their address, then you're probably pretty accurate. And if you scroll down in there, it'll tell you their spouse's name, which you might see on the tax record. So that's verifying it. Remember I said spend a little time getting contact information, right? And in there will be all the phone numbers that have ever been associated with their name or contact or something online. So there might be 7 phone numbers there. I literally put those phone numbers on my list, and I'm going to call each of them, and I'm going to hear ding, 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 about 5 or 6 times. But if a person answers the phone and it's not them, okay, that's not the number. I just call through the numbers until they actually answer the phone. It's got to be one of them most of the time. And some of the times it won't be any of them. So I don't have a phone number. I'll look a different way. And so there are like my methods for finding information. There's another class that we'll have, how to find the missing information, how to like become a little bit of a detective, because I spend my time getting their contact information. It's valuable. It's real money. So there's using Google, Facebook, Google, you just Google their name. You'll find out where they work. You might get a work number. Facebook, sometimes under the profile, they actually have their phone number in there. They have their address too, sometimes, right? So wherever I got to find it, I'm just going to go through all those mediums. Fast People Search, Google, Facebook, and see if I can find LinkedIn. LinkedIn always has their contact information. Sometimes they have their phone number. So you can call them. That script would look like, hey, I know this call's coming out of left field, but you live over in Waterfield, right? I saw that you guys bought your house several years ago, and I'm sure you've heard the market's crazy, but have you thought about moving recently? Or is there any chance you might be moving in the next, few months? And they'll say no most of the time. It's the automatic knee-jerk response. Now say, well, that's the only reason I was calling is your house matches exactly what one of my buyers are looking for. And we've made offers on a couple other houses in the 450 to 475 price range, knowing that they paid 200 to 300 for it, right? And they would make that offer all day long on a house like yours. So I don't know if you haven't thought about selling, that's one thing. But if you would like to know what the real true market value of your house is, knowing that you just told me you're not selling, if you would grant me the opportunity just to show it to a live buyer and see what they think, I'm going to tell them you're not thinking about selling, but that you've allowed us to come look at your home to compare it to the other things that are out there. If you would do that, I would bring them over, and you can, if they like your house, they'll tell you what they think it's worth, right? Doesn't mean you have to sell to them. But so that sounds weird, but you got to do more. You got to do something different. And what I will do in that opportunity, out of maybe like 10 homes, I get maybe 3 to 5 of them to consider. What really happens is nobody does anything the first shot. It's the follow-up that I do a week later, a couple weeks later, that some of them are like, we've been thinking about what you're saying, and yeah, I think it'd be all right to have your buyers come look. We would be curious to know what our house is really worth. And I said, well, this is a real live value. So, and I'll tell them it's not for sale, but if they really like it, they may throw a number out on the table. And so how are you going to turn that down if you're a homeowner? It's like, I have nothing to lose here if you think about it. So usually about 5 of those, 3 to 5 of those 10 will actually turn into an opportunity, maybe not to bring the buyer, but for me to go by and give them a value on their house. You see how this is going? I'm looking for a way in the door to an opportunity that I have zero competition to. They have not talked to any other realtors. They're not even thinking about selling. So it gets me in the door. Once you do this for a while, now you have a list of the off-market properties for everybody in your marketplace. Let me tell you, the first 2 or 3 buyers you sell a house to, if you plan this right, and they post on social media, our realtor found us a house that wasn't even for sale, you're going to start having every buyer contact you. So get ready. These are all things that amplify. I know that's pretty detailed. Let me pause out. Did I cover that well enough? Is there any questions that are coming up on it?
Hey, Brad.
Yeah.
What about Spokio? Have you ever had much success with Spokio?
Yeah, I mean, the thing on that one is that I'll sometimes click on it from Fast People Search, but it goes through that whole, it takes 10 minutes for it to go through the whole thing and processing through. I know you can pay for Spokio. I haven't paid for anything because they're still only accurate about 70% of the time, and Fast People Search is free.
And what about Mojo?
Mojo's more the dialer, right?
Yeah, but you can do a reverse
Oh,
lookup.
I like that. Yeah, wherever I can find their number from is what the goal is. But I'm literally going to do whatever it takes to get into a two-way conversation with them, whether that's in person knocking at the door or calling them. And they will, that's my lead generation right there,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
If I'm doing any cold calling, this is more of warm calling, right?
Sure.
I mean, I have
Okay.
something of value for them. So yeah, whatever it's going to take to get in front of
Okay.
them. Okay. Another way you guys can do this is you could pull up, this is what real estate agents do. When I was coaching real estate agents, like, I want to farm this neighborhood. It's so awesome. It's like, great. How many homes are in there? Well, it's a gated community and it's 40 homes. Okay. You're going to farm a 40 home neighborhood. Let's see, if they're moving every 10 years, that's 4 every year. This is not the neighborhood to focus on. I go to the neighborhood that has the most turnover. If I'm going to target a neighborhood, going back to that neighborhood knock on doors, I don't just randomly pick a neighborhood. I'm going to the 500 home neighborhood that's had 75 sales in the last 12 months because that neighborhood's turning over. So I'm going to have more sales. So again, a little bit of research time on the front end to figure out which neighborhoods have the most homes and the most turnover and the highest percentage. You might be pulling up one day researching 20 or 30 different neighborhoods in your marketplace. Find the one that turns over the most and target that one. And then go do your 5 to 10 year sale. So even if you don't have a buyer, you can still call the homes that were bought 5 to 10 years ago because they're thinking about selling. Here's another one. This is an easy one. Now that you get the 5 to 10 year ago sale, which, by the way, I didn't say this, in most MLSs, you should be able to go to sold date, right? You would go to sold date, and I would put in, I'd be looking right now from 2013 to 2018. I would pull up sales from January 1st of 2013 to December 31st of 2018. And it really doesn't matter if I do 18 or 19 or if I do 12 or 13. That's going to pull up a list of solds in that area that you're looking, right? Or that neighborhood that you're looking specifically, right? And then that's where I'm going to start going through and go through the history and see if they're still, if they've sold it since then wipe that one off the list. But has anybody heard of this thing called the golden letter? It's like a common thing around the industry right now. It literally is one line. It says, if you've thought about, or would you mind letting me show your property at blah, blah, blah to a current buyer that I'm working with? If you've thought about selling, give me a call. Something like that. So that's how I kick off the golden letter plan is I'm not just blasting golden letters out to an entire neighborhood. I'm only hitting people that are still in their home from 5 to 10 years ago. So I'm real methodical about it because that's going to get me a way better, bigger return on investment, right? But pulling up old expireds. So old expireds, it's like we don't have expireds in this market. Well, we did 5 years ago and they're still in the house. We did when the market crashed and they were upside down and they're still in the house. So another fun one. This is a bonus one for you. I think we got just a couple minutes left, right? Here's a bonus one for you. Like when I'm going through tax records, I'm finding how many investors have seemed like they've taken over your market. So I am now adding the investors into my database because it shows their corporate address for each property. It's like a vacant property or it's a rental, but now I've got the company name and their company address. I'm adding them in and find hidden listings, start marketing to them and say, hey, have you thought about upgrading your inventory? And I call it upgrading inventory, meaning sell off the bottom 25% that's not working for you. Get rid of the dead stuff. And you can throw that dead stuff on the market, whether it's wholesale, lower than value, whatever, but you're teaching them to get rid of the bottom 25% and you're going to help them buy a new top 25%. So there's another way to find hidden listings is through the investors because they've got hundreds and hundreds of properties. So check those, just make sure they haven't resold, and that's the ones that make it on the list. By the way, that is probably an hour a day. How many of you would rather do this for an hour a day than just pick up a phone book and cold call for an hour, right? I mean, we're not doing it anyway. So do something on purpose during your lead gen time. And then this one, get back to the missed listings. Okay. This is one I share with the people that invited you to this call. I mean, they might have taken 60 apps and they've got 10 closings this year. And there's 50 people that have filled out an application that we haven't done anything with yet. Then there's a difference between somebody not being qualified, but eventually somebody gets their credit score up and they get their crap straightened out. So how many people inquired about possibly thinking about selling, and how many buyers do you have sitting in your inbox right now that came through whatever lead source you are using right now? If you're getting some from realtor.com or your company site, where are those in your inbox? They come in with the same kind of subject line. Pull up all of those buyers that are sitting in your inbox that never responded. Give that to the person that got you on this call today and say, see if you can revive any of these. And what I found is that it's not the new internet lead that comes in. It's the one from 6 months to 12 months ago that they realized they couldn't qualify, or they had just signed a lease or whatever, that now I'm catching them when their lease is coming up again. And we finally get them to call the loan officer and do the freaking application. So the older the lead is, the better it is. So your missed listings, your missed buyers, any of those, man, if you can get organized and get on purpose, this is something that nobody I know of is doing on a consistent, persistent basis, daily or weekly. So anyway, just if you got buyers, if you got buyers, getting them off the fence, the one thing, this seller that just wants to take his house off the market, throw his hands up and give up. This is so horrible. It's like, dude, you got to let people see your house if you want to sell it. I can't sell it on a phone call. So do you need to move, or do you going to stay by your neighbor and just decide this is the way you're going to live life? Because they're the neighbor feuds, right? So are you definitely moving? Well, if you are definitely moving, then here's your script. If you're definitely moving, no matter what, then between now and when your house goes on the market, you are losing buyers. You're losing buyers. In fact, the interest rate could go up 1% and we'll lose a whole bunch of buyers. But if you're definitely moving, the sooner you're on the market, you have more buyer opportunities. If you come on a month from now or 2 months from now, you have to deal with whatever buyers are in the market then. And the reason why I say this is because if I do put a sign in your yard today, I already know, what if I showed up tomorrow with somebody that wanted to buy your house, right? Let's just say they want to offer you $10,000 under your asking price and they want you to be out in a week. What do you think the seller's doing? Well, I wouldn't take that. Exactly. So the fact that you're on the market doesn't mean you have to sell. In fact, what if they don't even have their house on the market yet? They qualify for 2 loans and they would wait 60 days, 90 days, 180 days to move in. But they want your house now, so because it's such a competitive market, they'll pay full price and they'll let you stay in the house till you find another house. Well, if I got that buyer today, then I could really have some leverage and wouldn't have to give up on my buy side, right? So if I did that today, I have more options. I can take it. I can not take it. I get to control everything. So just because you're on the market doesn't mean you have to sell. Is this the best time of year to sell? I mean, usually even in the fall, they say that stuff. And I always say, right now, May, would you believe it or not, you're going to steal the next round of summer buyers off the market right now today. If you come on in middle of June or July when the kids are out of school and you're finally ready, that's when everybody else is coming on the market. So you are going to have more competition in the next 30 to 60 days than you do right now. So again, I just said you can take an offer now on all your terms, be under contract, and steal the next summer buyer off the market before all your competition hits the market and they're stealing your buyer from you. I call those the hook, line, and sinker scripts. It's kind of hard to not list their house. If they are moving, no matter what, I'm probably going to go home with the listing that day. So we got to get them off the fence. And then last, just to finish out, right as we hit the top of the hour, staging scripts. I mean, again, in this market, there's so many agents that are so I have a stager, we have a photographer, we get the house ready, we do, everybody can do their business their own way. I don't necessarily like pre-listings. I don't think the client gets a benefit out of pre-listings. I think we do. We just get more buyers off of it. But even that's tough to get today. I mean, so I'm not quite sure what the pre-listing inventory is. Because if somebody's in the market today waiting for that house to hit the market and they've been beat out on 2 other offers, I don't think they're going to sit and wait 2 weeks till it hits the market to see if that's the one they want to buy. The next house that comes on the market that they like better than that one or about the same, they're going to buy that one because it's going to have multiple offers on it. So in my theory, I think we're losing buyer opportunities, but really I get it. It's to get more buyers on our side. It's not really benefiting the client. So what I do is I say between now and when you get your house staged, photos, all this stuff that you got to fix, do whatever, we could hit the market right now while you're doing that stuff. And somebody might buy the house just like it is, as is. Hell, even if they offered you 10,000 under your asking price and you haven't got all those repairs done yet, that might be worth selling, but you get to make that choice. So I'm all about now, and I do all the photos and I do all that stuff. So I say, just take everything now, no more than 1 or 2 things on every wall, shelf, and shelf or flat surface. I don't care if you pack everything in the garage to the ceiling. We know master bedroom and kitchen sells a house, right? And living room. There's not a garage in my career that was stuffed that stopped a house from selling. Not a one. There wasn't one house ever in my career that the closet stopped the house from selling. It was more than that. Shove your crap under the bed, shove it in the closet, shove it in the garage so I can take a picture of the living room and a picture of the kitchen. And I get them on the market as fast as possible. There is no waiting. So that's just me. So anyway, great opportunity. Open house. This listing that I do have, my psycho seller. So I haven't had to do open houses in years. I did an open house, but I put 10 signs up a week before the open house. It's Monday. I'm having it on Saturday. Right off the main entrance, the day of the open house, I put 20 more open house signs up all around, just shoving every kind of traffic in. I had flyers out. I put it on every website I could put it on. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it more on purpose and do everything I can to get the most people through so I can meet people. Well, crap, out of that came meeting 2 people in the neighborhood that now I'm connected with. And we're this little underground neighborhood lake community. So I'm in with them, but I picked up this listing from that and got a buy sale. That's $1 million worth of real estate because I just freaking did it. It's like, oh man, I need to do an open house. It's real. I mean, I need the exposure in this neighborhood. I need to do it. But I went in like, oh my gosh, I'm doing an open house. What do I do to make it awesome? And I got $1 million worth of sales sitting on the books right now. Don't forget about mail. Mailing direct to the mailbox is like a gold mine. Not mass mailing, not mass marketing, but just dropping something of value in the mail once in a while. You might, I'm going to put a little pressure here. You might get stuff in the mail from the people that invited you to this call a little more often. And it's okay. It's all about top of mind branding and marketing. And it's not, whether you look at the piece or not, doesn't matter. It's just keeping your name in front of them. So you might start getting mail all of a sudden from these guys. And just anything and everything that you're doing. So anyway, I'm going to end it there because we're at the end. I got a free resource site that you guys can go to. And it's the title of the book I wrote, emythrealestateagent.com. When you go there, you will register. I mean, you're filling out a form with your name and stuff. Put in the comments anything that you liked about the class or, what market you're in. You might even throw your address in there just so I have it. And as soon as you hit submit, I'll get your information so you're in my database for referrals. But then it's going to take you to a site that has recordings of all these webinars that I do. I record them all and then I throw them up on the website. So this one should be up there shortly. What do you guys think? Good stuff?